So much pressure.
It's a big countdown.
It's all good. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back into yet another episode of the Countersin podcast. This is episode number 44, I believe.
Yeah.
And my name is Jamie Joyner, and I am joined, as always, by my fellow co-hosts, Mr. Matthew Lacey. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. How are you?
Yeah.
Hi, Harry. Yeah,
Doing good. And yes, Mr. Harry Sermon.
Hello everyone.
Okay.
Hope everyone's well. Yes.
Yeah,
we're good,
good
mate.
to see
We're
you
good.
both. This is we're coming at you on a dark Tuesday night and ready to talk some drums. I was thinking we'd jump in straight away with our new segment, which we've been doing for the last few episodes. I'm going to bring something for this one. This are something new, just to sort of quickly share a few little exciting goodies, which I shared with you guys on the chat the other day, that have come. As if I hadn't bought enough things at the drum show. There was always other little things which you go, I don't know if you guys get this, but like you get one thing, you're like, oh, that's great, and then you're like, oh, I could just do that other little thing that's on my list, and you sort of just work your way down, or it gives you new inspiration. I put in a little order. It had to be to Tomlin, and unfortunately, don't come at me for not going down to my local drum shop. Though this is absolutely what I advise everyone to be doing if you can.
Absolutely,
100%. But yes, I've put in a little order for a Gretsch. Well, actually, no, it's a Remo power stroke free fiber skin bass drum skin. 20 inches to go on the front of my Gretsch because I wanted to get the fiber skin look, but I also really wanted the Broadcaster Gretsch logo, which just sounds really lame that I wanted to just get that logo, but I love the look of it. I like the current one I've got, but yeah, that kind of like rounded top, really like that. So I bought like a little decal to go on that, and also a little port cutter, so I can sort of cut out a hole in the bass drum skin. It kind of comes with like a little pin. You for those who don't know how it works, you kind of put in a little pin, and it kind of works like a compass, and you just sort of draw your hole. You can choose the size of the hole that you want, and you just sort of cut it out of the head,
Yeah, need a video of that, Jay.
Yeah, handy bit of kit.
Yeah, it's hopefully if it goes successful. I think you get 2 cuts out of it before it like the blade like dulls, and you can't do any more than that. So you've got to get it right. I've
done a few more than that, but it sounds good.
Have you?
It's funny how they how they engineer those blades that apparently go blunt after 2 cuts. Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't just pop out. You don't do like one circle and it's done. You've got to really hammer it home. And really put a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as they think it looks. But yeah, I've done it probably at least twice now. It's fine.
Okay. I guess with a power stroke free, it's going to be pretty thick.
It's quite thick, yeah.
Yeah.
And the fibre skin is definitely a little bit tricky to get through at first. You'll just make lines, and then you just got to keep going, persevere, put a bit of pressure, kind of lean into it a little bit, and then you'll get that one little cut. You'll be away.
Okay, right.
like opening a can of beans.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Well, I know. I'm looking forward to the finished product. Eventually, it'll be a lovely fiber skin look with the Broadcaster logo and a nice little porthole. Yeah, just give me a little bit more flexibility on gigs. Kind of with miking up. It's the kind of the main thing that triggered all of that. So yeah, I was like, I need to buy a new bass drum skin for the porthole, and I was like, I like the fiber skin, like the Gretsch badge. So yeah, that came, and I also decided to upgrade my tiny little drum. I was going to say rug, but it's not. It's like a mat. It's literally just a bit bigger than a doormat. It fits like my bass drum and half of my hi-hat. Like it's not that big. It just sort of stops my bass drum from sliding. So I decided to get like an actual like rug, but like with the rubber on the bottom, sort of just like something that isn't too bright and colourful or anything like that. It's just pretty standard functional. And I was like, yep, cool, that'll do. And so I've got a new one there that's a bit bigger. I can just spread out a little bit. I'm a bit nervous it might be a bit too big, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, so it's always nice to get some new goodies. So I'm excited to set all that up and try all that out. Unfortunately, I haven't got a gig in the next couple of weeks, and then I'm away for a month. So I've got all this lovely stuff, and I'm not going to get a chance to use it till towards the end of the year. But I'll let you know how that goes when I sit down and have a little and get all that set up. That's
good.
That's what's going on with me with all my
cool
new stuff. Let's dive in with the episode topic for this week then. Which I'm really intrigued to get into because I think this has been one that has been back and forth between us a little bit for quite a long time actually. We've all had different backgrounds on it and different experiences and opinions with it. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. But basically, we're going to be talking about paying for drum education and whether we have had lessons or continue to get lessons, and what we think of particularly like I'd say like online learning platforms and so on, and like what experience we've had and how that's influenced our learning, our playing, and probably our teaching as well. I would say, especially personally, it's been very insightful how to teach and to sit, and you were saying this earlier off the air, Matt, but to sit and be a student, I think is quite important, especially if you are a teacher, to then like know what it's like to be sitting in a room with someone that is much better than you, knows a lot more about the drums than you do, and is gonna kind of really whip you into shape. I'll start off with just a question, throwing it out there. Are you guys currently paying for or having any sort of drum lessons, tuition, drum lessons of any sort? And if you are, yes or no, why?
Okay, I know the answer. Start with me because we know what Harry's going to say.
Do we? I might have signed up to someone into the opening in a minute. I'm just so inspired.
That'll be your new thing for the next episode.
Signed up to all of them, the free trials. I've rinsed them all.
So I am at the minute. It's kind of interesting because it's not. So I'm doing, and I mentioned it previously in episode 43. I'm doing I'm doing a Stan Bicknell, New Zealand, pretty sure it's New Zealand. Yeah, New Zealand drummer.
Now,
he was on Mike and Eddie's podcast. Apparently there's another drum podcast out there. Who knew? Almost as successful as ours. And he was on there, and I got to know him through listening to that, and I started following him. And I'm doing I guess you call it like a distance learning package. So I subscribed to his newsletter, and he he did a bit of an offer to his newsletter people because he was celebrating, I think, one of his band's new release. So I got a discount code, and I used that when on the site, and I mentioned it, it's the kind of double stroke mastery, and it's a specific thing I've been kind of working on myself, but I thought, you know what, I need to invest to get some third-party context and perspective and some formalized instruction on, right, am I thinking I'm doing it right? I want to really improve my doubles. I want to invest the time and the money. So I've had some great support with him, a couple of DMs on Instagram and this, that and the other. But ultimately the package is pay the money, and then it gives you access to his site and the pre-recorded videos and the instructions and what to do. So it's not he's not actively teaching me. He's not mentoring me. I'm not having a Zoom lesson every week. But now that I've kind of committed to that financially, and the program itself is managed over 30 days. Obviously, you can carry on and continue to practice and do whatever you want to do. And with respect to, due to respect for Stan, I'm not going to go into the details here because I don't think that's fair. But because I'm paying for that, it's now not only financially but emotionally, it's got a higher value for me. So the commitment's then right. Well, I paid for this, so I really need to do the things he's asking me to do for however long he's asking me to do them for me on however many days I've got to do it. So it's been a good thing for me to push myself into being habitual with specific practice on specific days for specific durations. So yeah, sorry. The short answer is yes, Jamie. And that's what I've been doing. And the reason for it is because I wanted to, it's specifically focusing on one rudiment technique, whatever you want to call it. And it's given me a framework to work and measure my progress and feel like I'm moving it forward, rather than I'm playing this. I've got to a plateau where I don't feel they sound as good as they could, and that's why I kind of took
getting
the time
that feedback.
to
and I think that's one of the really valuable things about this sort of education is where you can work at something and then have someone say like, oh, you need to tweak this, you need to tweak that, or whatever. But I do think that in my experience has been quite difficult on an online sort of platform, like in comparison to say like getting a lesson face to face. So how have you found that side of things while you're using
just
an online
kind of
system?
So it's really easy to get on and I can review and rewatch any of the videos. What's nice for me is that none of the videos are more than 8 or 10 minutes. I think there's about 8 or 9 videos in the package. What I didn't want to do is turn and go, oh my God, this is an hour and 20. Because quite frankly, I don't have the attention span for it.
That's important.
Undiagnosed ADHD right here. And it's snippets and I can dip into that for today. Right, take that on board, come back tomorrow.
Nice.
And it's good that, I think I shared a couple of stories on Instagram that I was doing it, and he took the trouble to comment and, reply back to me. And he says, look, if you want any advice, perspective. So he says in the program that if you've got any questions, and I've asked him a couple of questions about where I am with my progress. Am I on track? I know it's different for everyone. But one thing I did kind of, get at, which was great to hear and see in it, is that a lot of the stuff he was promoting, actually, I am doing that right. And how he teaches it is how I teach it. So it was almost a nice kind of way, without sounding egotistical, it was a nice way to kind of reaffirm that, okay, so, hey, that's 2 opinions, but then there are thousands. But it was nice to know that way I've been approaching it and introducing that to a student, we're doing it in a similar way. So that was a nice thing to do. And upon pushing my tempos and durations and stuff like that. So it's a good thing. So that's what I committed to at the moment. And it's nice because it's manageable in terms of time per day. And I don't need a kit. I can use a practice pad. So it's a good thing. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Harry, I think I'm not going to answer the question for you, but you're doing anything at the minute? I'm kind of passing Jamie's question along, really. But I know you've done stuff in the past, haven't you?
Yeah, no, nothing for me. Simply just out of time. Don't have the time and the space, really. I mean, I've got my little practice kit behind me. I was doing the JP Bouvet method for about a year.
Yeah.
Great. So good. Probably, from my experience, for some of the stuff that I did get involved in, just absolutely the best bang for your buck and the most sort of transformative. I know JP, and I've had a private lesson with him, and we've spent time together, and his sort of way of teaching really, really resonates with me. And even on the site, sort of having the sort of rapport that we sort of have together. He's probably known of me for the last sort of 10 years. So he's sort of seen my drumming sort of when I started uni up until sort of studying with him. I think that really, really benefited the both of us, not only for sort of him from a sort of teaching point of view, but obviously also for me in terms of, kind of seeing the work that he was able to sort of do with me. But yeah, the courses were fantastic. And I think I completed maybe like 4 or 5 like full courses. Again, same with you, Matt. What I like about it is the videos aren't that long. They're about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes maximum. PDFs to download, and sort of chapter submissions. So you would submit a little video of you practicing, whether it was literally you tapping on your legs, a practice pad, a full kit, didn't matter. Just wanted to see something. And then you get feedback, not to, to talk about that whole thing and sort of use that as a selling point. I highly recommend that you do check it out. But I did that for about a year. And I think I stopped that probably about a year ago now, maybe. So I've been out of that but again, I just don't, I really would love to have the time to sit down for, whether it be half an hour a day or a couple of hours here and there across the week, to sit down and sort of dedicate myself to something and sort of such like that. But unfortunately, I don't have the time. Anytime I am sort of sat down, I'm usually doing some kind of work, whether it's mixing or recording some stuff, or maybe working on the podcast, or maybe putting social media clips together, or other things. Unfortunately, but I'm hoping that hopefully in the not so distant future, I'll have a bit more of a dedicated space. And when I do, I'd definitely be looking at something to keep me in check. That. I am definitely also looking for. I've been saying this for a while. I want to have a private lesson with someone, and sort of just have that be in the chair, be on the other side, not only for my for myself and my drumming, but also like you said, to sort of flip the tables. What we expect of our students, as I'm sure we'll come on to later on. But be in that opposite position and sort of feel the pain, as it were. And be in that position. Because I really would love someone to. It's been a while since I've had someone kind of like play, and they go, okay, well, I'm noticing this. Maybe we can look at this, or try and do this, or I've actually not to backtrack too much, but I have been thinking about a lot of things in my playing lately, watching videos and stuff like that back, and trying to adjust things, and I guess doing a lot of, and we talked about this before, like the mental practice. Thinking about things and sort of going through it in your head when you're driving or whatever. I'm doing a lot of that lately, and sort of doing a little bit of pad stuff. But I've not been committing myself to any kind of education to answer the question in the short way. But I'd like to. I just don't have the time.
Jay, did you do some JP stuff?
Yeah, I did as well. I think maybe overlapped a little bit with Harry when Harry was doing some with him.
We're at the same time.
We were kind of doing it for the same time for a little bit, but similar sort of things. I think I was probably with him for about a year, which I'm thinking now, like, oh, that was a long time, and I didn't get through as much as I certainly would have liked to in that time. Like, he has some brilliant courses on there, and certainly like I'm seeing some of the things that sort of Harry was doing and getting out of it. I was like, oh, I can't wait to dive into that. Like, literally on the website being like, this is amazing. There's so many things I want to do and get stuck into. But that was almost, I found quite overwhelming. Like, just so much stuff. I was like, I want to do all of this. And I was like, I think I started like lesson 1 of one course and lesson 1 of another course, and then like I was jumping, and I was like, and then quickly was like, this is not what I should be doing. Like, I'm getting like jumping all over the place. I know you have to put all your time and effort into that thing. You have to completely commit to it, and that's when I've seen the results when I have done that in the past, and I know that because I ended up doing. I don't think I quite finished this particular course with JP, but I got sort of 80% through it, and I really worked on it. Like, I spent hours working on each lesson. And I look back at some of my improvising now, and I already start to see a little bit of what he was teaching just in that one course in my playing. And I was okay. Like, that's really great, but also really frustrating, because I know the amount of effort and the amount of time that it takes to actually start seeing stuff show up in your playing. And I'm like, that's time that I currently don't have. And I spent a lot of money not playing drums, with a subscription like on a website like that. And I don't regret it because of the little bit that I did get out of it. And as we were saying, like being able to see how someone else teaches something, I think that's so valuable. And it's why we all love watching and listening to someone like Mike Johnson, who can just communicate something in such an articulate way, or in a fresh 100%. Way. Very, very short, very sweet, very to the point, exactly what you need to know, and present it in a way that is really engaging. Makes him one of the best educators out there. And it's amazing seeing other amazing educators also teach. Often it's kind of good if you see them teaching the same thing, because you already have a concept of it, you already have maybe your method of teaching it, and just hearing someone else's sort of take on it, I find really, really helpful. I think it's a great investment, but when you don't have the time, it's really frustrating. Can cost you a lot of money. I think that maybe my next question for you guys is what you think of like online specifically, because at the moment, like I do occasionally, at the moment not so much, but I have in-person lessons on and off. There's a guy in Cardiff who I got recommended to before a jazz gig last summer, and he was brilliant. He got me right where I needed to be, or like he gave me what I needed to do, and it was up to me to get there, but I knew that he gave me the stuff that I needed, and I was like, right, I've got to go and work on this. Managed to get through the gig, and then had quite a few more lessons after that, but I really, really valued in the moment, and I'm like this, I will be playing something and it could be completely off topic, but I love being able to be in the room and say, whenever I do this thing, I always think about it this way, or my hand always does this, definitely. Or I always struggle with this thing, and it could be completely off topic, or it might just be a random question that's only vaguely related. But when you're in the room with someone and you just have the freedom to ask about that and go on a tangent if you want, maybe it's like, oh, I always feel like I can play this better when I use these other pair of sticks and not these sticks, and then you go off on a tangent about sticks. It's having the space to do that, and I think that with online education, as much as I know and I've seen the value from it, I really, really love being in a room with someone and being able to be really specific and go in and ask the question that I've been dying to ask, and that sort of stuff, or something that just comes to my head. Like what do you think about like it's having to pay a monthly thing, and it's largely down to you? You're paying a lot of money, and yes, you get feedback and you upload videos and that sort of thing, and there's groups and all that sort of stuff, but how do you find it in comparison to, say, a face-to-face lesson?
I think I prefer face-to-face. No, that's to answer the question. How does it compare? So as someone, we used to work in learning and development, as you know, in the private sector, and my teams used to develop a mix of face-to-face training courses and online training courses and some hybrid courses which were blended. So there'd be some online modules and some face-to-face modules. The challenge with anything like that is if it's an online thing, the flow of information is one way. Yeah, there is no kind of, actually, there's no kind of natural, as you say, as you alluded to.
Can you expand upon that and stuff like that?
Yeah. I don't quite get that. Interesting. And what that online learning platform needs to do, whatever the topic, but let's be specific about drums, is that it needs to appeal to the different learning styles of different people. And some people are auditory, some people are going to be kinesthetic. They need to show something being demonstrated. They need to understand it. It's like we know with students, some people want to see the notation. Oh, I get it. Some people want to hear it played and go, oh, I get it. But they can't do it the other way around, or it's not the most natural thing for them. And that's where I think online stuff that's the pitfall of it, is if it's not pitched right to take into account every different type of learning style that people have got, you're turning off. There's 4 learning styles. It's going to turn off 75% of your potential audience. So it is a challenge, and you've got to make sure that you can take it on board in the way it's presented. Otherwise, as you say, Jay, I've got the information, I've got to do the work. So really, it's not really about the teaching of the thing. You're using the information to teach yourself. And it changes the relationship in the information. Is like, okay, well, unless it's been explained and developed and shown, it's not education, it's just information. So yeah, it is. It's always a compromise. The benefit is you can press pause at any time, and you can go back and watch it again. And I need to watch that again. So the pros and cons of it are being that you can do it at your pace.
You can download it as well, and you can access it anywhere you want at whatever time you want, and all of those sorts of things. And if you want to rewatch something, as you say, or there are so many pros to it.
It is, I've done some live Zoom lessons with some students, and I try to make that as engaging as possible with different camera angles and different perspective, and make sure that we're doing what they want, which is kind of it's coaching rather than teaching, and we've talked about that in the past. But yeah, for me, I've done this because it was a specific thing, and it was answering the question that I wanted answering. It wasn't join the subscription and there's loads of courses. Well, I don't really know what I want to do. I know I could write a massive list of everything I want to improve. And let's be fair, that's everything you can think of. I want to be better at all of it. But I need someone to assess me and go, right, where do I start? So that's where I think it relies on you knowing what you don't know to go and look for the thing that you want to learn. And very often, I think we're perhaps in a position where we are being honest with ourselves and we know what we want to improve. But for people who don't know people don't know what they don't know. So that becomes a difficult, that's the double-edged sword of it, really.
And I think it's not only the content that's on the site or whatever. And this was something Harry was saying earlier. Like, he felt that, the way that JP taught really resonated with him, and really got on board with that. And I think that is a huge thing that you have to take into account, because it's not just like, just sign up for any old, this drummer's a good one, like, and he has loads and loads of courses, or this guy's the cheapest, or this guy's the most expensive. It means he's good. I think it is the way that they teach, which can almost be the key, I think. Because I like sitting with. I've probably done like 3 or 4 different ones, and all the ones I've done have been really good. But there have been just certain people where they've explained something. I've been like, that makes so much sense to me. I'm going to remember that forever because of the way you just explained that. And they're the people I feel like you want to be going to. I think it was. I think it might have been Mike. It was sort of saying like he never cares when someone sort of says, I'm really sorry, but I'm subscribing to like someone else's website or whatever. Mike's always just like, that's amazing, because that person's obviously the right fit for you. I'd rather you go to them and get the education that you need than try and come to me, and I can't give you what you need. I really do think that not only is it the stuff that they've got on their website, on their course and stuff, but like the way they are, the way they teach, who they are, I think is equally important.
I know I had again. So I had an online. I had some lessons for a couple of months, or was subscribed for a couple of months to a guy's site from America, a guy called Steve Pruitt. Who I'd not really heard of, to be fair. I came across some of his content and went, he could play. And certainly from my background, in terms of where I wanted to improve, he's really, he teaches in academia, drum set in America. So he's not just like good at the drums and he's going to do lessons. He has got an educational background, which is something that appealed to me. and he's got a big emphasis on jazz playing and funk and kind of stuff. So which again, I wanted to talk to someone through jazz concepts. So that was going to be great for me. I mean, he's just a monster player. He's played with some quite big names globally. He's just come back from a tour in South Korea. He's been so great player. And his course, I would say his probably at the other end of the scale financially. It's really quite expensive. Now, I'm a big believer in value over expense, and it was good value for money. But the money is still the money. And I couldn't afford to do it over a longer period. But within his site, he had lots of live guests who would come in and do clinics online. And they were all recorded. So anyone coming new to the site got to see the ones that had gone before. So I went through, there was a on live stream lesson with Quincy Davis, Q-Tip, the guy from Instagram. So he did an hour and a half. I think I'm going to say Nate Morgan, might be wrong, but he plays the voice in America.
Yeah, cool.
Some
one of Mike's favourite players, I think.
Some guy we know, Carter McLean. You've heard of him. So he did it. He did Carter McLean, Dennis Chambers. So all this access to these world-class players doing online clinics, which were all kind of backed up, so you could watch them any time, stop and pause, and that's fit. There was also other guest tutors on there, so I watched quite a lot of stuff from Louis Palmer. I think it's fantastic, great teacher, and the way his modules are built are fantastic. And on top of all of that, I was getting a lesson every week live on Zoom with Steve. And we would really go. And this is the great thing, is that you got all that background content, but you were still getting the face-to-face, albeit through a screen. You were getting that live interaction where we were interacting with each other. I was asking questions. He was giving me some concepts to go away and work with. And actually, he was giving me lots to work on. So much stuff in his concept. A lot of the stuff, it was a great mix. Stuff that I would guess is in with his prospectus. It's in his kind of wheelhouse. But also 50% of the stuff was being posed by questions from me. So I felt it was answering the things I wanted to get to, as well as highlighting a lot of stuff that really I want to be improving and getting better at, whether it be chops or, fills or particular stickings, loads of great exercises. And I worked really hard because I knew I would have access for a specific amount of time. I was on that site every moment. I mean, I don't know if I spoke to you about it. I was getting up. I changed you talk about having time, Harry. I was like getting up a lot earlier. I was getting up an hour earlier to spend time online and practice at 6:30 in the morning because I knew I want to make the most of it. Now, if without that time frame, if I was just on it for the year ongoing, maybe I felt like I got all the time in the world and I maybe not have attacked it like I did, but I got lots from the Louis Palmer content, lots of stuff from the Zoom calls with Steve, which he records and then sends to you in Dropbox. So you've got them for instant access back again if you want to go through the concepts. Great. Lots of notation, but not great value, not cheap. And that's the thing that you got to take into account. And what I came to realise is similar to as you said earlier, Harry, it's like when it came to fleshing out these concepts, I needed to be at a kit. I needed to be practicing and I needed to be putting in a minimum, I would say, an hour a day, if not more, which just I couldn't do. And it got to a point where it's not his lack of value, I can't bring the value to it because I just can't put the time in. But if anyone wants to check out Steve Pruitt online, I would have no hesitation in recommend. Completely different style. He's not a Mike Johnston. He's not a JP Bouvet. He's not a Stan Bicknell. None of us or anyone else but ourselves, And it's to that point you said, Jay, if it doesn't suit you, it doesn't suit you. It doesn't mean it's wrong. Yeah. You've got to find someone that you can connect with. And that's what we do as teachers. We look to connect with our students, don't we? But I was on the call going, I've not really had time to look at this, Steve, because I've been busy when I've been at the kit, I'm like practicing for a gig or charting songs, or I haven't got time to just shed for an hour a day.
That can be one of the most tricky things, is that even when you have a fantastic teacher, whether that's online or face to face, I found this with the guy that I've been seeing in Cardiff, and he's brilliant, and he'll like tell me exactly what I need to get to where I've said I want to get to, but then he'll give me more, and he'll give me additional exercises and sheets and things to listen to and people to check out and all this sort of stuff. And it very quickly, if you write it all down, which you can do if it's all sort of online and stuff, you can like pause it and like go and check it all out, write it all down and get into all of that. It's hours and hours and hours of time investment to do it, like from what I'd call just like properly to really learn it. You have to spend hours going for it. And I don't know if this resonates as well, but like you kind of get a little bit disheartened by it. Like it's all amazing stuff, and it's all like, this is great. Like I'd love to be able to do all of this and spend time, watching all these videos and working on these concepts, getting up at 6 a.m. and like getting on my kit first thing and all of that sort of stuff. And then you're like, but how could I make that something? I'm saying it now, and I'm like, if I wanted to bad enough, I probably would. But to actually put that in as a habit that happens no matter what, that's a huge commitment. And so I find this with everything, down from like practice to exercise and all that sort of stuff. Like for me, I'll get into it for like 2 weeks and I'm great, and I'm like, this is brilliant. And then something in life happens and it throws me out of that routine. I get set back. A couple of weeks later, I'll try it again, and I start doing it again, and it goes great for a bit, and then something happens. Maybe I go away for a month or something, and then I'm back at square one. And it's never that like consistent thing. And I think that is partly to do with lifestyle and stuff like that. But there is a lot to do with priorities and choices. And at the end of the day, I look and I just go, practice this sort of practice, not like sitting down and learning songs for a gig or whatever. This sort of practice is just not high up enough for the priority. Like, I'm not willing to give it that time with what is going on currently. And I think that it's very easy to be made to feel quite guilty and ashamed, because we're told, practice, especially as a teacher, you're telling your students, all of them that aren't practicing, to go and practice. And then you get annoyed when they don't. And then, you have your own drum lesson, and you're like, oh yeah, sorry, I haven't done all those things that you said, and I'm literally on the other side of the drum stool with my students, just going, check out this person and like listen to this album and like do these exercises, and if you work on this like 10 minutes a day, you'll be so much better. And all the kids are like, oh yeah, okay, but you're kind of like overloading them with stuff, and I know exactly how it feels. And yes, they're kids and we are adults, and we've got very different things going on. But I do find it really difficult, I think, with the education stuff, because I feel like it has to be something that you've invested in that is consistent all the time, and that you're willing to give that attention to all the time, because otherwise you never get the results. You end up just spending money doing a bit and then not, and then doing it again, and it's back to square one. And I think that's the thing I really struggle with it,
But going back to what you say about there is so much to learn, and I thought I was doing all right, but I'm not even at the foot of the mountain to get to the pin. Never mind near the top. I'm still at base camp. And I've got so much to learn. Like, I'll go and look at this course. I'll go and look at that course. And like the thing you were talking about, Jay, isn't that, that lesson in patience? Because, we talked very briefly. I talked about new stuff on the last episode, because I've just been, or had been to Odyssey Camp. And I've got stuff to go from that. And it was like, I can't do this. And I'm there in the course thinking, right, I should better do this. I can't do it. And that realization that I've perhaps focused on 3 exercises since I came back from Odyssey Camp, and I'm getting there with them now, but it takes ages. And having that patience to go, I'm looking at a book now, it's got it's got 8 rows of 2-bar exercises in it, and I've done row 1 of this 2-bar exercise, and it's taking forever. And having that context that our students are, they are having that overwhelm as well of kind of whatever it is they're learning, whether it be a grade 2 piece or doubles, or or whatever their challenge is at the minute. How do you know all this, and how do you know all that, and how do you get to? It just takes time, and having that context to go, I can now talk to my students and go, I'm doing exactly the same thing at the minute. It's a different exercise, but I realise I've just got to stick at it, and you've got to be patient. Don't try and learn it all in one go and practice. And one thing that did come out from the Odyssey Camp in the Christine Neddins. By the way, if anyone wants to kind of look at Odyssey Camp, the Drummers Odyssey Camp on Instagram. We've talked about it very briefly in the last episode, but it's another form of education in terms of getting, but it's as much about the hang and getting to hang out with drummers as it is about the education, which is all brilliant. But one thing that Christine Neddin said, and I'll paraphrase it was that I think we've got to focus on not trying to practice something until we've learnt it. And I think now I'm making a differentiation in my terminology to my students, but also with myself. Right, so I'm going to practice, but I'm not practicing because I haven't learnt it yet. I don't have it down to practice it. I've got to learn it first. And once you reframe stuff as a learning exercise rather than a practice exercise, I think I'm certainly a little bit more open to the fact that I've got more patience. I'm not expecting anything from my progress in that 5 minutes or whatever it is. So, yeah, I think there's so much context we can take to our students around. I know it's going to take ages because it took me ages, and the thing I'm working on is taking ages as well. So it's all in there. But I think it's important. I mean, I've been very driven the last 6 months to specifically improve my playing. There's key things I want to work on and get better at. So that's why I took the plunge to do this online stuff. I thought, well, if I don't do this, what am I going to do? I need the proverbial kick up the backside. I need someone to be accountable to.
And if that's working for you, and that's like, you're finding those teachers that you think, actually, this is doing me some good. I'm seeing some progress. More importantly, then I think it's worth it. You keep on doing it. Investing the time into it.
You can find these snippets on Instagram. You can find these free lessons, quote unquote, free lessons on YouTube. You can take context of them. I know a few people that are getting on really well with Drumeo. We should mention them as well. But you have to kind of, for me, unless there's someone I don't know how you guys feel about this. I need someone to show my homework to. I need to go, this is what I'm working on, how I'm getting on with it. And you are the master of your own destiny when you are relying on free content, which you don't really value emotionally or financially. And you're relying on yourself to be accountable to yourself. And that sometimes doesn't work for people. Some people can be really, really kind of honest with themselves and strict with themselves. But genuinely, I don't think, we've mentioned 3 or 4 online platforms in this like 40 minutes or whatever. If everyone could just find a thing and learn it themselves, online drumming lessons wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
No one would have a platform. No, because it would be easy enough to just find out all the information. I found all the rudiments online. I'm just going to learn them all.
Yeah.
Till I can play them all really quick and really perfect.
Sped all of that up as well. It became super popular and stuff, didn't it? Everyone kind of had to go to online education over that lockdown period, even if they weren't before. It's definitely become a bit more of a thing. Well, I think we should begin to sort of wrap this up. Just one more question, just to sort of tie us all together. If you were to get a drum lesson from someone in person and say it was going to be an hour or an hour and a half, who would it be? Anyone?
Well,
Harry, I don't think I'd have to answer that one.
I'd book him with Harry.
I would also just like to add that those, I think all of this online education, education in general, you get out what you put in. If you're going to pay for it and subscribe to it and pay all that money, like you said, you can have one lesson and that's, your year, of practice. You don't need another one, really. If you're not going to put in the time, then don't even bother signing up in the first place. Yeah. Like you said, it all comes back to you, and you are the one that, we sit there in our lessons and go, well, if you're not going to practice, then I'm just going to keep teaching you the same lesson, and I can't do the practice for you. So I think that is an important thing, and that's why I don't currently subscribe to anything or have any lessons and stuff, because I'm not going to put in the time. So, but I think also on the flip side of that, signing up to these things, if we take online education, for example, I think it would benefit you more if you were going and signing up with those people, knowing what you were wanting to get out of it. If you sign up, if you go, oh, I really like Juan Carlito Mendoza, you sign up to his website, or Isaac Jumba, for example. Yeah. And he's like, I'm all about, the Brazilian samba. You go, great. I want to learn funk drumming. You're going to have a really not very good time and not get really anything out of it. So I think you want to, even if it's just like one thing, you go, look, I'm being honest, I want to do this for like a couple months. I really like the way that you teach improvisation. For example, JP, right? Yeah. If I'm honest, JP, I just want to get to my improvisation skills and stuff like that, and I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to have lessons with you for a few months or whatever the thing might be. I personally think that will help you so much more. That's how I got on so much better with the JP thing. That's how I actually committed myself to it. Is there were a few courses on there where I was like, wow, this is exactly what I'm after. Maybe at the moment I don't really know what I'm after. I don't know, but that really helped me. But to answer your question, I think for me, I mean, obviously it would be players like Steve Jordan or Corey Fonville from Butcher Brown, players that are my playing style gravitates towards, and they're in situations that I want to be in, and played stuff that I want to play, because that's going to benefit my playing more. Would I love an hour with Isaac for him to kind of blow my mind? Yeah, sure, that'd be fun, but it wouldn't really do anything for me, I would love a lesson with Lars and talk about some of those Metallica parts. Again, it's not really gonna.
And the snare drum on St. Anger, but
exactly, exactly. I was actually listening to a drum history podcast about all of his touring kits, actually, studio kits. Very, very interesting. But yeah, like I'm not going to do that. As fun as that would be. Would I have a lesson with like Max Weinberg? Then talk about that would benefit me. The stamina and playing with that much conviction and power for a certain amount of time. Yeah, that'd be great. That could be relatable. So I'd be thinking of someone that would be like super relatable to what I'm doing and what I'm playing. Even like to the not even just sit and talk about your paradiddles or whatever for an hour. I would I'd speak to I want to chat to Corey and be like, you're really good at like playing the backbeat, but having it be a ghost note and not a rim shot, but still getting a ghost note under that ghosted snare backbeat. How do you do that? Like, what's the techniques that I think little things like that. I'd be wanting to know about again, because it's translatable to me. That'd be my answer for that.
No, good answer, man. Good answer. I think that's a really good point, though, in terms of knowing what you want to do. And I think if people wanted to take away anything, it would be like really think about how you wanted to progress as a player. Now, I could list 10 things I said that I want to be better at. But unless you know what you want, and if you just go to someone I want to learn everything. You are going to struggle to have this kind of way marker, an objective that you're heading towards. But yeah, it's a great point, Harry, about having kind of context in terms of what you're going to use and get the most out of. In terms of, I'm padding for time, just trying to think of people who I would have lesson with. To answer your question, Jay, so difficult for me to pick people. I think you could ask me every 6 months, and it might be someone different.
Okay.
I know. I think it's about the person for me and the style. there's so much I'm going to. So probably I would say either. I know it sounds a bit of a cop out, but maybe Dave Weckl or Benny, Mr. Greb.
Yeah.
But I have had with chatting quite a lot with Kristin on the camp, Kristin Neddins on Odyssey Camp. She came from a big band and jazz background originally, and big band is something that while I play bop drumming and a jazz quintet, or I play jazz, big band drumming is a whole different kind of discipline. So coming back to your point, Harry, about getting something specific out, Kristin was a great teacher and some real fantastic concepts, and I got on really well with her. So I'd probably, pick Kristin. I've said to Kristin, once I've learned everything in the book, when she comes back over, I want to book a lesson with her. So I've already kind of committed to Kristin that I'll book another lesson with her. So maybe Kristin Neddins is probably the most likely of those three.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
Jamie, about you, mate? What about you?
Again, probably a bit of a cop-out answer, but probably Benny would be my top. Not only just for his playing, but I just think he's such a brilliant educator and human communicator. All of those things. Like, I just think he's fantastic, and just to spend even just an hour just chatting with him, I would love that. His outlook on music and how you listen to things, how to practice. Like, I've sort of listened to little snippets and interviews and things with him about all that sort of stuff, and he knows so much. I'd absolutely love to have a lesson with him. Probably. It's really interesting. Like, sorry, I know we're sort of wrapping up, but it's all well and good when you know exactly what you want, or you know the exact sort of player you are. But it's also, there might be people listening here, for example, that maybe are a little bit, maybe they're more of a beginner, or maybe they're a hobbyist, or maybe they don't really know what sort of drummer they want to be. Choosing the right drum teacher or the drum education platform or whatever might be a bit more of a challenge. And I think that, kind of going back to I can't remember which of you were saying it, but it being about the person, I think it was you, Matt, about it being the person that you connect with, I think is a really good starting point. And just finding someone that even just in the way that they communicate or teach, or you just look at their playing and think, oh, that's really cool. I think that's a really great place to sort of start with it. Because I've had those sort of not issues, but those sort of thoughts sometimes when I've just been like, I don't really know what sort of teacher I want or what sort of thing I want to work on. I kind of want it to be everything. I guess Benny Greb is a good option because man is pretty informed on most things, I would say. But probably Benny.
But I think generally, if people are out there and maybe they're not committed to lessons for whatever reason, that's great, or they're not having one-to-one face-to-face stuff, or they're think about what is it you'd like to get out of lessons or instruction or mentorship or whatever, and go and look and find stuff. But you will find that you get more out of it if you commit to something, onto a website or a set, 10 lessons, a block of lessons, whatever it might be, online, face-to-face, whatever. Because it will, you've taken action, and if you want to get better, you need to take the action and kind of find the time. I think it is 100%. The kind of, and on a completely unrelated note, myself, Jamie, and Harry are available. To do so.
Yeah, sure.
No, this far. If Benny's not got time, you could always give Jamie or Harry a ring, I'm sure. Because it makes commit to making the change, and then find someone who's going to help you with that journey. And if it's not the right person, because of stuff we talked about, if it's kind of not the direction, not the style, the more you can be aware of how you learn and what you want to get out of what you're doing, then the more you will get out of the lessons and the educational journey, no doubt, definitely. That's my perspective on it. To close up, Jay. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, cool,
great.
Great.
Nice.
Go, Jamie. Wrap us up, Jamie.
A good place to land there. So I guess we'd love to hear any of the listeners if you're listening and you have thoughts and you're thinking, oh, I'm not really sure. What I'd like to do in regards to getting drum lessons and education, or if you have had any good or bad, I guess, experience with that sort of side of things, we'd love to hear from you. So you can reach out and get hold of us at Count Us In Podcast on Instagram. That's the best place to get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. You can also check us in the bio in our profile. You can check out the Buy Me a Coffee link as well if you feel so inclined to help support the running of this podcast. We would be forever grateful for anything you would like to do to support us. So we thank you in advance, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you for watching on YouTube as well. If you're watching on YouTube,
thanks for watching.
Press the bell and the like and the subscribe thing. Thank you very much. There you go. That's
all the YouTube things.
Do all the YouTube things.
All the YouTube nonsense.
All the YouTube stuff.
Yeah, great. Which is episode 4 there, isn't it? I guess. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Brilliant. Wow. Nice one, chaps. Good to talk to you both.
Thanks, Jay.
Nice one, guys.
Thanks, Harry.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to go and practice. Yeah,
nice.
Or learn, then practice.
I'm not.
Harry's not.
Harry's not. Harry doesn't need to. He doesn't get nervous.
Oh, no, that's not the case. Really do. Time.
Cheers, guys.
Nice one, guys.
Take it easy. See you all. Bye.